Okay, so we're going to have a look now at content management systems. So, first of all, why CMS? CMS is just the initials for content management system. So, okay, why CMS? Well, what a CMS does, what a content management system does, is allows you to make edits to the content. Now, there's a lot of talk around CMS, so I'm guessing that you've already come across the term, and most people assume that they definitely need to have the ability to edit their own site. Now, what I want to do in this section is actually question that, so that if you do need CMS, you know exactly why you're going to use CMS. Okay, so it gives you the ability to edit your own site. We've understood that. But who is going to actually edit your site? See, that's always the first question for me. You know, we assume, well, we need the ability to do it, but actually, have you really thought that through? So have you got the manpower, have you got the time to actually make those edits yourself? And remember, a CMS, however good they are, you're going to need a certain amount of knowledge to use them. So therefore, have you got the time not just to go and edit the pages, but to learn the content management system? So you've really got to weigh that up. Don't assume that somebody's going to build something, give you a CMS, and immediately you can dive on in there without any learning curve and just start editing pages. In fact, if you do try and do that, the chances are you're going to mess up the site. So let's talk about messing up the site. Okay, you've got a content management system, and that means you can make all of those edits, but do you have a backup plan just in case you make an edit that's wrong? So you're still going to need a web developer or your own web development skills in order to do that. So there are a couple of things you need to think about around whether to use a CMS just from a time point of view. Okay, so what about a bespoke CMS or maybe a platform-based CMS? So what do I mean by those two? First of all, a bespoke CMS. Now, this is where your web developer will build you a content management system all of your own, which would actually be very easy to update content. But it restricts you, and it deliberately restricts you. It does all of the formatting, all of the clever stuff for you, so that you just go in and change words or maybe add pictures. But you do it through a very restricted system. Now, there's a good reason for doing it that way, so don't think of the restrictions as maybe being a negative thing. They're all just different options and what you are going to be most comfortable with. So, if you have a system whereby it's very restricted, the chances are you're not going to knock out all of the formatting, and your website is going to remain looking as good as it did on the day it went live. And that's got to be a good thing. But of course, you might not want those restrictions. So what restrictions am I talking about? Well, let's say you've got a news section and you decide on day one that you're going to have one picture per news item. Well, if that's what your developer builds you, a system so that you can add a picture to a news item, then that's what you've got. The day when you decide you want to add 2 news pictures to a news item, suddenly then you fall outside of the parameters of the bespoke CMS system. So then you're looking at a platform-based content management system. Okay, so a platform-based would be something like WordPress and Joomla and Drupal, and I could carry on, but forget the names because they will come and go. As one thing becomes more popular, the other one will subside, etc. But they are what's called platform-based content management systems. Now, these will give you a greater degree of flexibility. In fact, you can even go into them and add in your own HTML code. But go back to the first thing, have you got the time to learn all of that code anyway? And should you have the time to learn all of that code? What is it that you're good at that you're not doing while ever you're doing this learning curve? Okay, so we've got to look at whether it's a platform-based. Well, that's going to be one of the popular systems. That's probably another easy way to think of platform-based because you'll have already heard of the name or other people will have heard of the name and they'll be speaking about it. So if you do a Google search, let's say, for content management systems, these are the ones that are going to come up and you'll be able to read about them. They've got forums and help and all the rest of it. So is that the platform for you where you really delve into the HTML and so on? Or do you want a bespoke one? It limits you, but it makes sure all of the formatting is right. Okay. Now, when we've looked at platform or bespoke, we also need to look at HTML editing or database driven. So let me explain those two terms. HTML obviously is the code that creates web pages. And the best websites produce HTML code. However, to add functionality, quite often we use database driven applications. So databases hold all of the information, and when you enter the website, it's at that point that the database and the program put all of their information together and deliver you a page. Now, the benefits of having a database-driven content management systems are that they're very, very easy to update. So they're easy to update. All of the information is stored in a database. Let's say you want to change the theme of the website. Well, that's easy because the theme, in other words, what it looks like, and the actual data, the content on the page, are stored separately and they're merged at the time when a visitor comes to your website. So that's a good thing about database-driven content management systems. And systems such as WordPress and Joomla and Drupal that I mentioned earlier, that's what they do. Okay, but they don't create the best HTML code. And part of your strategy could well be that you need good search engine optimization. And search engine optimization requires good HTML code. So what can you do? Well, for a start off, it doesn't mean you can't use content management. But what you might want to consider is an HTML editor type content management system. Now, I've put a link on this page to Cushy CMS, and there's plenty of others. Now, what they do is they put a really friendly interface over the top of your HTML pages. So they allow you to edit those pages without you having to learn the raw HTML programming that somebody has used to build your pages. Now, they're probably not as flexible and as involved as the WordPress type editors, but they're giving you simple control. So they're almost like a step in between building the HTML stuff yourself and having a full-on content management system that runs on a database. But the point is they provide really good, clean HTML code if that's what your developer created for you in the first place. So you need to think about some HTML type content management system if you need good quality, clean code. Okay, so let me try and put them back into some perspective for you. First of all, time. Have you got the time to get really involved with content management? Because you're going to need the time if you're going to manage the pages yourself. So you need to consider that one. What about the platform? Should it be a platform based or should it be bespoke for what you need? Well, bespoke, obviously, as I said, that keeps it a lot cleaner and it helps you with the formatting, makes it simpler and quicker for you, but it doesn't always give you as much flexibility. Or do you need a system where you're going to have to learn how to use it, but it gives you that added flexibility? And don't always just go for that one. I know when you start building your website, you're thinking, I really need control of this. Well, don't always go down that line. It might not be the best thing for you. So, and then finally, database-driven or HTML type editing. As I've already said, HTML type editing gives you cleaner code. Database-driven, again, it's a more powerful kind of system, and it'll allow you to add a lot more features and functions, etc. Okay, so I hope that really gives you a good introduction to content management and the content management systems that are out there. Obviously, go away and do the worksheet. That's going to help you to work out whether you've definitely got the time or maybe what type of system you should use. Have a look at some of the links that we've put across there so that you can have a look at some of these platform-based, database-driven and HTML type content management systems.